The 10th ruler of the Ottoman Empire, the 10th Sultan, was Suleiman, also known as Suleiman the Magnificent, also known as Suleiman the Lawgiver. On 26 June 1522, the Ottomans, also known as the Turks, led by Sultan Suleiman, invaded Rhodes, in what is today called the Siege of Rhodes. Their intent was to add such a strategic military and trading location to their empire. The island had been ruled by the Knights of Rhodes for the last 200 years, who had used Jews and Muslims as slaves to work on the island. During the invasion, which lasted for about 6 months, the Jews turned on their Catholic slave masters and helped the Muslim Turks capture the island. In return, Suleiman granted the Jews significant religious and personal freedom after the Ottoman Empire had annexed Rhodes. The Jews received their own neighborhood, they were encouraged to practice their religion openly, and were given a certain amount of self-governance, which continued for over 400 years. Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, also known as Maimonides, also known as the Rambam, was a Sephardic Jew who was born in Cordova, Spain in 1138. He first became the personal doctor for the Muslim ruler of Egypt and Syria, whose name was Saladin. Rambam was a well-known doctor and very successful. He also became a very well-known astronomer. Finally, he studied Torah, and as a rabbi, he composed the first systematic exposition of Jewish law based on the Tanakh and the Talmud. As an article online by Rabbi Mark Angel describes, Dr. Kellner reminds us that Rambam was an Arabic speaker who engaged in theology, mathematics, logic, physics, and philosophy. Moshe, in Egyptian is Moses, was born as a Hebrew slave on the 7th of Adar, 2368 or 1393 BCE in Egypt. Adopted by the royal Egyptian family, he became a prince of Egypt, as well as a well-respected military leader and an accomplished builder of large Egyptian projects. As an adult, he decided to help his people in their plight. He was subsequently exiled and returned years later to Egypt to extract the millions of Israelites from their Egyptian enslavement. Through God's help, the Israelites left Egypt under Moshe's leadership. Weeks later, these Jews received the first laws in the history of humanity, the very first laws which were divinely given. These laws were intended to not be dependent on any specific human ruler or leader, but rather to last for all time, for all humanity to know. It was the first time in human history that people would live by laws, and not by rules made by one leader, which could be changed at any time at the leader's behest. These laws introduced novel concepts for that time of human history, of things like taking one day off per week from work, of not committing adultery, of not stealing, of not hating other people, and of not lying. In giving these laws to the Jewish people, Moshe explained what God had told him, that these laws are a roadmap for people to return to God. So what do these three people have in common? Each one of them is a lawgiver. Moshe gave God's law to humanity for all time. Maimonides codified that Jewish law and applied it to daily practical situations for easier referencing. Suleiman reformed civil law and military codes. Each one of these individuals, as lawgivers, have their white Vermont marble stone relief portraits sitting over the gallery doors of the chamber of the United States House of Representatives in the American Capitol building. They are 3 of 23 portraits of individuals who have contributed to the principles which are foundations of American law. Moshe's portrait is in the center of these 23 individuals, acknowledging the original and central role that the Torah had in influencing the American Constitution and its principles. There are 11 other lawgivers on each side of Moshe. The speaker's chair and the podium is in the center, and a rectangular plaque containing a quotation from Daniel Webster is in the center, opposite Moshe. The locations of the relief portraits of Maimonides and Suleiman are the blue circles on the left of Moshe. The relief portraits are visible above the doors from footage of the most recent State of the Union address. These 23 relief portraits have been in the Capitol now for 70 years. They were installed in 1950 as part of a renovation project.